Hey everyone, this is Tankenstein. Today I'll be going over 5 tips and tricks that will help you tremendously if you're just getting into your first jets. Now, you've probably just bought your first jet airplane or one of your first, or maybe even perhaps you're looking to up your game and you've had jets for quite a while. Either way, you've come to the right video. Jets behave similarly in many ways to top tier piston planes, but very differently in other ways, and it's even more pronounced depending on the jet that you use. You'll find acceleration, top speed, weapon capabilities, handling, and much more are totally different with jets compared to piston planes. That said, let's dive in and give you tips and tricks to show you how to be a better jet pilot. So, to start, I've come up with a list of 5 tips and tricks and also some tactics that will help you when you're using your jet fighter and also jet bomber. So, for my first tip, I'll say use your speed to your advantage, especially in dives. Dives will help you gain the speed that helps your jet work best. Jets accelerate far quicker as they move faster due to the way the jet engines work, whereas props typically accelerate at a relatively constant speed and slow towards the plane's top speed. Jets will typically gain speed fastest between 50% and 85% of their overall top speed for their given altitude between sea level and around 5 or 6,000 meters or so. Getting into a dive will only help aid the process of accelerating. This lack of acceleration isn't really rectified until 8.0 plus jets, but doesn't really go away until some of the more powerful afterburners start showing up on planes. Further, going faster often, though not always, will allow your plane to be more agile than it would be at a slow speed, as jets are typically designed with higher speed turns in mind. The only downside to this for many jets is energy loss, and it's really just very high in turns, especially in early, heavy jets like the ME-262. For number 2, I'll say find your role. Most jets have multi-role capabilities beyond just regular piston-powered planes in World War II, and this gets far more pronounced as you get into more advanced jets, as some variants of the F-4 Phantom II can carry a bomb load similar to that of a B-17 heavy bomber from World War II. This said, while you can certainly load up on secondary armaments all you would like, and the temptation is certainly greater than ever, you absolutely need to find out if it's the best solution for the situation that you're in. Adding bombs could cut your climb rate by 20, 30, or even 40 plus meters per second, which would put you at a substantial disadvantage against the much faster, unburdened jets that you'll be facing. It isn't quite the same as loading up a Bf-109 with a single bomb, dropping it, and then returning to normal. As mentioned before, speed begets speed in jets, and as such, the speed you lose by carrying bombs will make you suffer for a long time after you drop them, especially with the earliest jets in the game. For number 3, don't be overzealous. Just because you have a fancy new jet and a much higher top speed doesn't mean you can just blast off and catch the B-17 or HE-264 that's way above you. With the exception of rocket planes or even rocket-boosted jets, this is simply not a good idea, as many of the top-tier props, such as the P-51H5, F-8F-1B, Spitfire LF Mark 9, Bf-109K4, and several others will easily catch you and tear you apart. Remember, oftentimes these planes have better weaponry than top-tier jets. Just because your ME-262 has 4 30mm cannons does not mean it is a superior fighter. If you jump into a dogfight that has 3 enemy super props, you will probably die, regardless of the massive burst fire that you have. Learn your weapons well, because on the opposite end of the spectrum, early American jets, even through the F-86 Sabre, have machine guns, which are almost entirely inadequate when facing such fast opponents as jets. Know your weaknesses and do not exaggerate your strengths. And for number 4, this may seem a little bit obvious to some, but I definitely encourage it. Try out test flights in arcade mode, especially if you're in realistic all the time. Seriously, Even though arcade is a bit easier with flight models and won't be exactly the same as what you may encounter in realistic, it'll give you a good footing in less serious conditions and allow you to see a healthy mix of both props and jets, which will allow you to develop strategies for when you see either type of plane in your future matches. Additionally, try to earn jets that are forgiving, such as the P-80 Shooting Star or MiG-9. If you went through the German or Swedish trees first, it's totally fine, but know that the planes like the Me-262 or J-21 are not typical of post-World War II fighters and are fairly unique in how they fly. And for number 5, temper your expectations. Remember, as jets were rolling out in real life, it's not like prop development totally stopped. Even through the late 1940s, there were still several designs that featured mixed propulsion, meaning they used both jet and propeller power, such as the XF-2R Dark Shark. This is because jet engines were not totally reliable and, as mentioned before, had issues with throttling up quickly, which led to acceleration issues, among other things. In fact, one of the things that killed the Me-262 most really is when they mostly died was on takeoff and landing because of these very same acceleration issues. You can't expect your first, second, third, or even fourth jet to replace your prop planes entirely or make you into a far better player. Early jets leave a ton to be desired and are extremely vulnerable to any plane that turns well and has a high top speed, regardless of how it's powered. Further, even simple light machine guns can take a jet down, and fairly easily. You don't believe me? Hop into a pea shooter and get into a jet match. You won't have the most kills, but you'll eventually get 1 or even 2 kills against a jet. And finally, for tactics, I'd say for the most part, boom and zoom. By gaining a high altitude and then diving in on your opponents, you can take full advantage of the ridiculous rate of dive that early jets have compared to piston planes. And you can get up to speed quicker and also take full advantage of your jet's high speed properties, like possibly even increasing your plane's agility. The end result of this tactic largely depends on your armament and plane weight, as a fighter like the Me-262 will be incredible with boom and zoom because it has such a huge armament and is very heavy. But the Yak-15, HO-229, and P-80 might just say otherwise. These planes, while they can boom, have better agility after booming, and as such can be excellent dogfighters, outturning even piston planes, especially at high speeds. For attacker/fighter jets like the F-84, use them more or less like piston engine attackers. You have the option of climbing with them as they are somewhat capable dogfighters, but their size and reduced agility hamper this. And finally, for jet bombers, I'd say either side climb or rush your way to victory. This depends on your preferred playstyle and the game mode. Now, in realistic, I'd say either strategy is really reasonable for a plane like the AR-234, but when you get to heavier, higher cost bombers, side climb, and outrun fighters at altitude. That all said, thank you guys for watching my video. I hope you guys learned a thing or two from it. I know that most of these tips and tricks I really wish I knew when I first got jets, because when I first jumped into the Me-262 and later the P-80, I was at a loss of how really to use them properly, and it took me months to really learn it. So this is from months and years of experience really just playing jets. So again, I hope you guys learned from it and really soaked in some of the tips and tricks that really burned me for quite a while. So that said, again, I hope you guys enjoyed it. Please remember, like, comment, subscribe. It all means a ton to me. But either way, this is Tankenstein signing out. I'm not making this a 10-minute video, and because I really don't care about the ad revenue. Thanks so much again, guys, and take care, everyone.